Better late than never, I 100%ed this sucker. Let's talk about Batman Arkham Knight. One of the best things about Arkham Knight right now is the fact that everybody has a different opinion on it. You go on comments and you look, and some people think it's the worst thing in the world, and then other people think it's the best Batman thing ever. I kind of fall in the middle, but I'm leaning a bit towards it being just such a cool Batman thing. I'm also reviewing and talking about this game as a big comic book fan, as a ginormous Batman fan, so I guess there are some biases, but at the same time, I can acknowledge that there are some little aspects of this game that are a bit annoying. You've probably heard about it by now, you know, the Batmobile stuff, and while I will say the Batmobile stuff is probably the lowest point in the game, it should not deter you from an otherwise really fairly awesome game. That being said, I'm just getting the negatives out of the way first. It is very much a far cry from what Arkham Asylum originally was and what got us so into these Batman games from the beginning. That, I hate to use the word, but Metroidvania style design. Ultimately, open world design totally changes how the game is played, and it is really, like I said, a far cry from the original. That being said, I don't think it's completely a bad thing, because now I think that these Arkham games have fully embraced being a Batman simulator, and that is the best compliment I can give Arkham Knight, is that you actually, finally, really 100% feel like fucking Batman. And that makes me so happy. Oh my god, it really does. But alright, one more negative. Okay, you don't feel as much like the world's greatest detective. All the detective stuff is really side missions. But that being said, the side missions are all great. That's the one thing about this game that I did really enjoy, is that all the side missions, while some of them can be a little repetitive, ultimately, they were all very well written and are all tales with other side villains. And I think that's really great. You get a lot out of this game if you want to see everything. It's really, really worth it to do that. And of course, the game looks incredible. It looks, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been gushing over screenshots and videos if you haven't played it yet. It's always raining, which makes the game look fucking amazing because, you know, graphics. And it really does look like concept art of Gotham City come to life. And I use that sometimes that's one of the highest compliments I can give about video game graphics, is that, especially with the Arkham style games and their weird art style, it's just so detail ridden, almost to the point where it's overkill, but it looks absolutely great. This Gotham skyline is unlike anything I've ever seen, and it's what I've always wanted, and it's a world that I really always pictured Batman inhabiting, and it really feels like. The presentation is top notch. You have all the great voice actors, you have the epic, amazing score, which is what I think really sells these games a lot. And you have the visuals. It looks absolutely incredible. And let's talk about Kevin Conroy doing the voice of Batman. That man is a god. He is my Batman. People say, oh, who's your Batman? Keaton? You know, oh, Bale? Nope. Kevin Conroy has always been my Batman, just because I grew up on the animated series. That's my ideal Batman. And to hear him doing his thing here, it's absolutely great. Yeah, he's getting a little old, but he's still got it 100%. The combat, as always, is very great. That being said, this time I think now it's just so fast-paced and so amped up and so there's like little particle effects and stuff. Sometimes it's hard to just tell what Batman is doing. It feels so much more than just punching and breaking wrists and snapping legs. It happens so fast that sometimes it's a bit hard to follow. But that being said, it is better than ever because the environmental stuff and all the environmental takedowns work very well. And of course, the stealth sections are great as well. Once again, this time I think they're not the best in terms of level design, you know, and just really being engaging, but I think where it makes up for that is how you can position and use your brain to do fear takedowns and instantly take down a group of guys a la Dark Knight, where you just bust in, and now let's talk about the Batmobile. I think the Batmobile is really great when you drive it. Calling the Batmobile and diving down, hurtling towards the streets, fucking backflipping into it and tearing off and doing burnouts. It never gets old. Anytime I summon the Batmobile in this game, it never gets old. And it's a really incredible design to Rocksteady, because that must have been really difficult to pull off. But it works. That being said, when you change into a tank, you know what? I like it. From a video game standpoint, shooting other tanks with a tank, it controls really well, and it's a lot of fun, but it's just a bit much in a Batman game, and they overkill it. Yes, they spent a lot of work making the Batmobile, which means they want to use it a lot, and not really driving. It's a lot of tank sections, especially towards the end of the game. It's just a bit too much, and it really kind of turned me off. But other than that, it's fucking cool. There's a lot of, that's where all the puzzles and the Metroidvania style stuff went. It all went over to tank puzzles and tank stealth sections. Who thought that was a thing? Don't do that. But like I said, other than that, I'd say half of the Batmobile, 50% of the Batmobile, especially tearing around in side quests, chasing after APCs, it just feels great. It feels like Batman, and it really goes back to that whole Batman simulator thing. They pulled it off. The Batmobile's awesome. And now as for the story is very much a comic book in terms of how ridiculous it is and how, you know, the Arkham Knight is there, but all these other villains are there. but it's really great. I'm not spoiling anything, but I'm sure many of you guys have seen the X factor, the variable in this story that really changes things. It's not the Arkham Knight, and that thing, which I hope you know what I'm talking about. If not, play the game. You have to experience it for what it is. That thing in the game makes this one of my favorite Batman things ever, better than The Long Halloween, better than Year One, better than Dark Knight Returns. Like, I just really loved the things they did, especially towards the end when it really ramped up. Some of the sequences got really out there. It's some of the best Batman stuff I've ever experienced, and I really wish they delved even deeper, but the way they did it was artful and masterful, and it was just so great. As for the Arkham Knight, the identity, you saw it coming. I had way cooler ideas. I had way better, theories in my head of who it could have been as a Batman fan. But that being said, though, his identity was predictable. The way they pulled it off was fucking amazing. It felt like a movie. There was so much emotion behind it, and everybody's selling it with the voice acting, and it was really perfect. Oh, and all the Riddler stuff, everything about the Riddler in this game, fuck the Riddler. But, despite all that stuff, I do really mean it when I say it, that as a Batman thing, if you put the cynical video game stuff aside, is it, from a gameplay perspective, the best Batman Arkham game? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe it's not as tight as Arkham City or as just like 100% good as Arkham Asylum. That being said, there are some things in it that might make you love it more. You may really love the Batmobile. But for me, the story in this thing makes it one of the best things ever. And it's just the element, maybe not the story, but the elements of the story and the places that the story tries to explore. I love it. But that's it for me. I'm going to do a little bit of a spoiler video because I still have so much more to talk about the Arkham Knight, so definitely be sure to check back for that. But one other big announcement I wanted to tell you guys, I quit. I had a real job. I kept a secret from you guys. I had a real mundane, dead-end retail job that I was working for like 7 years, and I just quit it to do YouTube stuff all the time, to do stuff on here, to do pretty much it, to do game ranks. I'm really excited. I'm a little bit nervous, but most importantly, patreon.com/Jake Baldino. Please support my life. I'm just kidding, guys. Whatever you do, if you just watch this video, I love you, and you helped me get to this point, so thank you. I don't know what else to say. I have to go back to work. I just got to keep doing this. So I'll see you guys out there.